Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner, Ash Paulson, and Ted from Brain Scratch Comms to discuss our thoughts on Nintendo's plans for movies, mobile, and the NX. So, let's get started. Alright guys, so all this news is a little bit unexpected. There was an interview that Nintendo's president Kimishima had with the Japanese newspaper, which I'll include a link to in the description below. And they covered a fair amount of ground, including Nintendo's plans for movies, their upcoming mobile games, as well as Mitomo, and the NX. Now, there's nothing, there's not a lot of concrete stuff here. It's all stuff we've discussed to various degrees before, but there is a little more information here, so I thought it would be fun to go all over this. And let's start with movies. So the big news is Nintendo is in fact working on movies. They are working with apparently different companies around the world, and they are looking to release something within the next 5 years. We had previously reported, as well as a lot of people, being that it would be 2 to 3 years, but as far as I can tell, I think that is something that was misreported. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see something within that timetable. Now, they didn't announce exactly what they're working on. They said they are looking to use their IPs that are quite popular and make sure they're making something that everyone can enjoy. So probably not an F-Zero movie, I'm guessing, sadly. And there's actually a bunch of other smaller comments in here too, but I feel like we can touch on them as we go through this. The one thing that did stand out to me, though, is that they specifically mentioned, or actually a couple things, they specifically mentioned that the failure of the Super Mario Bros. Movie is why they're having a more hands-on approach with these movies. So it's not like a pure licensing deal. They're not just like handing over the rights and be like, hey, go nuts. They are like going to be very hands-on with this. It sounds like they will mostly be animated. And they also mentioned that they know there is a strong demand for Zelda. So yeah, there's a lot here, a lot of small details here. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Overall, this sounds like a pretty decent idea. I mean, there's problems that can happen, even like, okay, good, Nintendo's handling it themselves. Hopefully it'll be, much better. But keep in mind, Square handled the Final Fantasy movie themselves, and look how that turned out. So
Advent Children is a work of art, man. I'm not gonna...
Well, I'm not even talking Advent Children. I'm talking the Final Fantasy movie, the one that was like...
The Spirits Within.
Yeah, The Spirits Within.
Oh, yeah. That. Ooh.
Yeah, okay. Which almost bankrupted the country.
The country.
All of Japan.
Yeah.
the company. Excuse me. So, Nintendo handling it themselves does not immediately guarantee quality. It has a better chance, but, there's...
In support of the argument, Derek, they did say that Miyamoto will be hands-on with these projects.
Yeah, I saw that too.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh boy.
Which means we can at least throw the idea of story out the window.
Yeah, I know.
Well, there's no gameplay, so what are we going to do for that?
Well, it'll be like a paper-thin story. It'll be like, it's going to be probably...
There.
Oh, it's true, yeah. This isn't the first time, actually, that Nintendo has said that they are taking a more hands-on... If they were to do movies, that they would take a more hands-on approach because of what happened with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so that's not surprising to me. But I do think it's interesting that Kimishima specifically said they know there's a strong demand for a Zelda movie, and I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't go that route. I mean, Zelda seems like the obvious choice in terms of...
Really? Because, honestly, like, a Zelda movie, I thought, would probably be one of the least likely ones to work. Kind of like a Like, there was talks about a Metroid movie a while back, like years and years ago, and I didn't think that really had a lot of a chance for working either, because we're dealing with characters who, like, Other M aside, are most notable for being silent, and I can't imagine that they would give Link a voice for a Zelda movie. And so, what do you do at that point? Because
right.
you can't have... I think it would be very hard to have a 2-hour movie without a main character that speaks. And I mean, the easy answer would just be to have a Navi character to speak for Link, but I'm not sure how well that would fly in a movie versus a game. It's just... I'm not sure how well it would work, honestly.
But you kind of run into that problem with most Nintendo franchises. Mario has the same problem. Kirby has the same problem. I mean, Fire Emblem doesn't, but I don't think they're going to make a Fire Emblem movie because there's not enough... I don't know if there's enough demand for a Fire Emblem movie for them to do that.
Well, they made a Fire Emblem anime back in the day, so Fire Emblem has some of an appeal, especially now that Nintendo considers it one of their top properties.
True,
so
yeah.
Fire Emblem, I would put on the more likely side of things, honestly.
It would just be interesting if they did a Fire Emblem movie, if they tried to retell one of the game's stories, or if they tried to make a new Fire Emblem story specifically for the movie. That would be interesting.
If they want, yeah.
The news that Nintendo's officially looking into getting into movies does not surprise me at all, considering that we've seen a lot of movie short type stuff from them recently with the Pikmin movies. like that was like a year ago, wasn't it? And then there was also that Star Fox thing that came out relatively recently. The thing, I really liked the Pikmin shorts, but I don't necessarily think that they could get a full Pikmin movie, because again, those were really great, like, silent shorts, but they were also like 15 minutes at the most, so that's not really something you could stretch into 2 hours as easily. So
probably not, but if they did that, if they did go to the movie route, they could use the Pikmin shorts as a way to promote that brand, and in the sort of same way how there's like little Disney shorts before you know,
like a
movie.
Pixar short, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So
I would
make
love that.
different Pikmin shorts before the main movies. Like you, Ted, I'd love to see them do that, because the Pikmin shorts were really good.
Yeah, they were great.
So it does seem like the not having a character that talks is a common ground in a lot of these series.
That's the thing, yeah.
And I think that's something that we just have to, or Nintendo just has to, like, get over. Like, I feel like if they're going to adapt these games to movies, you know, there are going to be some some give and take, right? And in order to have a movie, you're going to have a protagonist that probably talks. And I think that may mean we're going to see a Link that talks at some point, unless they go something off the wall and do a Zelda-based movie without Link at all, and like focus on, like, you know, other stories in Hyrule or something. But I feel like that'd be more befitting of a TV show or something.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not sure if they're gonna do Mario right away, but I think Mario would work the best because, like, Mario doesn't, like, speak in full sentences, but he does have a voice. And in the spin-offs, while Mario is usually pretty silent, Luigi talks plenty. And I think it would be more, it'd be more comfortable from a viewing perspective to have a silent Mario but a talking Luigi, as opposed to, like, a silent Link with a little fairy friend.
I mean, I think we're all supposing too much that they would. Well, I guess Andre and I aren't, but I mean, I think we're supposing too much that they would keep them silent. I don't think they would.
Yeah.
I think they would, you know, kind of come to the conclusion that, okay, this is a different medium. This isn't video games. This is movies. So we kind of have to bite the bullet here and have protagonists that talk. I don't think that they're going to go the silent protagonist route for these movies.
I don't think it can work, because I don't think the silent protagonist thing is something that's, like, innate to that world, and maybe I'm not describing this right, but, like, I feel like even though we don't hear Link talk, that doesn't mean he doesn't talk. It's just that we are not privy to that, and that's something that I don't think can work in the movie, because it would be really weird. Like, if they made a Half-Life movie, Gordon Freeman would talk. There's no way they would have him be a silent protagonist, I feel like.
Yeah,
right?
with that much interaction. I think the only time a protagonist, at least maybe not talk, maybe they wouldn't be silent the entire time, but very limited talking, would be Metroid, because, well, look at Wall-E.
Yeah.
The first half of that movie has very little talking in it.
Yeah.
And it still works. You're still enraptured. By the time the talking comes in, that's when you start the story sort of not quite as good as it was before, but it's still a great movie. And I think having a Metroid movie where she's very much alone, interacting with things, seeing things, sort of having this more visual storytelling to that movie, and then when she meets the space pirates, or when she's dealing with the Galactic Federation, that's when she actually talks and you get a sense of her character. And of course you could use the common thing with flashbacks to give her, you know, her reasoning behind it. Like, let's say as she's finding the Chozo ruins, you'd flash back to what her family, what it was like when she was growing up with her family, what it was like being raised by the Chozo, how the different technology works as she uses it. I think a Metroid movie could really work with limited talking from Samus herself.
They could go the Castaway route, where she, like, does, like, data logs or something that provides her perspective.
I think Metroid, you know, because again, Samus, it's not just Other M where Samus has talked. It's always been implied that Samus can talk because of, like, her mission reports in Super Metroid and Zero Mission, and also she just straight up talks to, I think, Adam in Fusion. So Samus has never really been silent. She's just been silent for gameplay. But yeah, I think, you know, because you could even have just live talking with Samus during missions, with her talking to whoever her mission control is at that point, and whether it would be Adam or someone nameless from the Galactic Federation, like, that's less important in the grand scheme of things. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, Metroid might be a more fitting movie property than I initially gave it credit for. So that would be.
Yeah, I think Metroid could work.
I also think that it would probably also have the cleanest transition to a full movie, I suppose. Just because I think Metroid's art design really lends it to a very a very interesting movie environment. Whereas I'm sure like a Kirby or Mario movie would look just fine, but I feel like it would look a little bit too much like a TV show. Whereas I think Metroid would look more like a movie if it were to go to the screen. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I'm totally with you. I have a feeling that it's something that's going to happen. Well, so for the way I'm picturing it now is I'm picturing it that as a live action movie. And maybe that could work in animated form. Well, I'm sure it could work in animated form as well. But I feel like that would lend itself really well to live action. But we know that for right now, it sounds like Nintendo's focusing on animated, and maybe again it could be animated. But I have a feeling that we won't be seeing that one soon. Even though I agree with you, I think that one would work well.
Honestly, one of the best candidates to me is Kid Icarus.
Well, we have those shorts.
They do talk so much, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
If they
I would love that.
Well-defined characters. Like, it would make a very fun action-adventure movie, I think.
Oh, that would be great. I love, especially if they kept the same voice actors from Uprising. I think it would be fantastic.
I would be so happy with that.
Oh, man. Do you think that it would be, like, they would... I guess that's the question I would ask is, do you think that they'd go for something a little bit more lesser known, like Kid Icarus, or do you think they'd try to go for Zelda or something first?
So, you know, that's a great question. I have a feeling the most similar thing I can think of right now is Marvel. Like, I think if they go do it like Marvel did, I think this could work amazing for Nintendo. And by that, I mean you build a brand first by using big properties. At that point, once Nintendo is a brand in movies, you can then make movies on smaller properties and then advertise the games that are lesser known.
Well, that's actually something very interesting because if we're talking about specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all of those characters are huge now. You have to remember that before 2008, Iron Man was not a very popular character in the comic books. Like, everybody hated Iron Man because his last major appearance in the comics before his movie was in Civil War, where he created a Robo-Thor that murdered everybody. And same thing with Thor and Captain America. Those weren't huge characters. I mean, obviously they're big names, but they're not like Spider-Man or the X-Men.
No, they're not. But I mean, and you're right. But I guess I'm thinking comparatively to like Guardians of the Galaxy, like they were well known.
True.
Whereas no one knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was. Like if Guardians of the Galaxy had been the first Marvel movie, it may not have done nearly as well as they actually ended up doing.
I will agree with that.
I think it's important to remember too that another one of Kimishima's comments is that money isn't necessarily their first goal here with these movies. Their first goal with these movies, or with this movie initiative, is to spread the Nintendo brand. It's branding, essentially, and that's exactly what you were just talking about, Andre. So I think they are trying to build a movie brand so that they can get Nintendo in more living rooms.
Yeah.
And get more kids playing Nintendo games. So I think it makes a lot of sense to start with the big guns like Zelda or Mario, and then once you've established that, branch out from there and introduce more people to Kid Icarus. Introduce them to, Fire Emblem. Some of Nintendo's still big but lesser known franchises.
I think movie tie-in games are another big thing here, because if they're going to push the brand, it's like, well, you like this movie or you're aware of this movie, check out the game.
Yeah, they probably, well, maybe not like Kid Icarus the movie, the game, but I would be very surprised if when Kid Icarus is on the screens that they wouldn't have a Kid Icarus game in stores to match that. It's interesting to say it's interesting to think about the money thing you brought up, Ash, though, because one of the comments that Kimishima made was that the sale of their stake in the Seattle Mariners was supposed to help fund this movie initiative. And what's interesting about that is that currently the Seattle Mariners are valued at $1.4 billion, and I believe Nintendo would sell to about 10% of to sell so that they only had 10% stake in the team, I believe is what they were. So I'm not sure what it would end up in terms of money, but I assume that they would get at least $500 million. For context, the budget for Captain America Civil War was $250 million, so, but, obviously they're probably not going to spend that much money, so a little bit closer is the Ratchet & Clank movie, which had a budget of $20 million, which I think would probably be more, we'd probably see something more in line, presentation-wise, not necessarily quality-wise, to the Ratchet & Clank movie, so I think that they could fund a lot of movies with the sale of that team.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see them sell the Seattle Mariners because they've had that team. They've owned that team for like a good 15 years now. No, it's actually 20 years now.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's sad to see them do that, but I can't deny that it's a smart move if they're going to try to fund all these movies with that money.
Yeah, you basically said it there. Like, being from Seattle, even though I don't follow sports much, like I felt like a little tinge of sadness when I heard they were selling the Mariners. But I think this is a good, smart use of that money for Nintendo, especially on a worldwide basis. And I think too, depending on, I don't even know what their budgeting scale is going to be for these movies. It could be anywhere, between those two amounts you mentioned. But I do think too, Nintendo wouldn't be working on these alone. And I would guess that they'd be splitting the profits and distribution costs and production costs with like a movie studio potentially. In which case, that'd be even less like, they could fund even more movies that way, purely using the Mariners sale. And especially because they mentioned they're not even looking to make money off. I mean, I'm sure they are to some degree, but like this isn't a money driving avenue for them right now. So
I think even if they broke even, that would be fine for them. So.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Especially if they sold like Nintendo merchandise, like right before or after the movie, merchandise stand.
Or even, like you get like a little coupon or something with your ticket purchase for a Nintendo game, like 10% off or something. There's so many ways they could cross-market this, and I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, it is a little sad to see them sell the Mariners, but this is right in line with what Kimishima and Iwata before him said they were going to do. They said they wanted to aggressively aggressively kind of, make use of their brands and kind of breach other, genres of entertainment and really get Nintendo as a name out there and really attract, a new audience. And I think that's, we're seeing the fruits of that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's it. And I haven't really stressed this yet. Like, I am really excited for this. Like, in terms of hierarchy, I was like super excited for Nintendo making a theme park. Right below that is movies. Like, I love watching movies, and I really can't wait to see what they can do here. But the little they've dabbled in so far that I've seen, I've really enjoyed. Whether it's the Pikmin shorts, that Star Fox short recently, the Kid Icarus stuff, the Smash stuff, and even going all the way back to the first Pokemon movie, or the Pokemon first movie, I can't remember what it's called.
Pokemon the first movie.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Which I actually even mentioned here as something they've done before. Like, it makes me excited for what they can do, and I would love to see just them push the boundaries of what they can do with their existing characters and properties, even if it means going against what we know about them, like having Link talk. Like, I think a Zelda movie would be freaking epic as hell. And like, I think
so too. Yeah.
And with them going for different production values and not leaning towards live action film. The craziest thing, and I think maybe one of the best fits potentially for this, and maybe this is just my pie in the sky musings, but what if they worked with Ghibli on a Zelda film?
Does Ghibli do CG though?
No, but did they say it has to be CG?
No, they didn't. They said animated.
That's true.
Exactly, just animated.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
I think
that
base idea is a good one. Like, that would be an amazing company to work with. However, when I'm picturing Zelda, like, I'm picturing something more grandiose in scope, I think.
Well, to be honest, I think Zelda would look fantastic with a 2D draw. Maybe this is just me, because, I personally, I miss 2D films in theaters.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we all do.
And I do think that CG would work better than 2D for certain properties. Like, for Mario, for instance, I would honestly prefer that as a CG movie than a 2D movie. But I think for Zelda, Ghibli or not, I think an animated art style would actually work really, really well, personally. Especially if they got someone like Ghibli to work on that. Although, Derek, I'm not sure how well if it would be Ghibli, because I believe Ghibli is Ghibli's U.S. branch is owned by Disney, and I don't know if we'd see those two.
Yeah.
Try to work together. That would be weird. But because I'm remembering like a long time ago, somebody posted like mock-ups of what if Ghibli did Zelda movie posters, and they all look fantastic. So,
I mean,
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'll take my Zelda movie in any form, but the way I'm picturing it is just something more like, either CG or live action. So, that's the way I've always pictured it. But if I can be surprised by a Ghibli version, fine. I'll take it.
And I think they have to keep in mind what kids and audiences are going to want to see. I agree with you, Ted. I think 2D animation is sorely underused these days, and I miss it as well. But I think what most people want who don't necessarily care about the integrity of animation is CG, because it's newer, it's cooler, it looks, it's just I don't think 2D animation has that mass appeal that CG does, unfortunately. But on a personal level, I agree with you that 2D animation would be great.
And a great example of that is the fact that they have literally made an Animal Crossing movie anime, and that didn't come out, as far as I know, anywhere but Japan.
Yeah.
Well, that was also before, I believe, even City Folk. Whereas I think, like, New Leaf Animal Crossing wasn't ever not successful in the US, but New Leaf definitely established Animal Crossing as a strong brand for Nintendo. So I think if they were to do that again, they would release the Animal Crossing movie in the US.
Yeah, some of these Nintendo properties I see better working in shorts, more so, because like Animal Crossing I think works better as shorts.
Have you watched?
We already said
Kirby. Actually, I think would be much better as shorts.
Oh,
yeah, I agree with that.
Am I the only one who liked the Kirby TV show? Because I have
never watched it.
Oh.
I never
Yes,
watched
you are.
Darn.
What Spanish Meta Knight?
Oh, I love Antonio Banderas Meta Knight. What are you talking about?
Oh no.
That's a 4Kids dub, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, it's one of the stronger dubs 4Kids did, in my opinion. Like, better than Pokemon in a lot of ways, and definitely better than, like, One Piece. So,
yeah. The thing is, Kirby could work kind of in a long-form sense, because, the final bosses were always so insane. But I still think it works better maybe as like a 20 to 30 minute movie than like a full-length thing. Or maybe like a set of Kirby tales.
If we're talking about protagonists who don't talk, I mean, they can make Link talk. That's not that big a deal. Kirby, I mean, they can do it. There's nothing stopping them, but I can't imagine what he would sound like. I mean, he has a voice, obviously, but he doesn't really form words usually, and I don't know. It would be weird hearing Kirby talk.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if this extends into the games, but at least in the TV show, Kirby is canonically has the mental capacity of an infant. So I don't think.
Right.
I remember that looking up some stuff about the TV show, and one of the big things was that they made sure that they did not make Kirby talk. Like that was like a big no-no. For the show. So I don't think that they would make Kirby talk, even if they did make a Kirby movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I can think of a lot of the Nintendo's properties and think how well of a movie they would make. Yeah, F-Zero is not a huge thing right now, but that would still be a kick-ass movie.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
We got like a little taste. I mean, maybe not a good taste per se, but like in F-Zero GX, they had those animated cutscenes between chapters, right?
Yeah.
So it showed there is something there. I think actually, that's why I'm most excited. Like, I want to see more about these characters in a way we normally haven't. Like, even that Star Fox short, I loved that. I was very surprised. Like, I thought it'd be garbage. I had a great time watching that short, like seeing how the characters interact with each other, in a way that they don't even interact in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I did too, and I'll say this: I would be happy to watch a full-length Fire Emblem movie that uses the same animated style, like cel-shaded style, that the cutscenes and Fates and Awakening use, because they're so gorgeous just to watch. And I would totally watch a feature-length movie using that kind of cel-shaded style.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
You could even have some real pathos in there because of the characters dying, like, permanent death. You could integrate that into the movie by having a certain character die. Give that, there's more pathos, and you just, really go kind of mature with it, but still, like.
Yeah, I think that Fire Emblem would probably be would tackle the most mature themes if they were to have any Nintendo movie. Because like the only other one I could think of is maybe Metroid, but Metroid also doesn't have as much characters, so it would all of that emotional burden would be on Samus if they were to make that movie. Whereas you could have a lot of you have more opportunities, I guess you should say, for Fire Emblem.
You know what I'd prefer to have over a regular Mario movie? A Luigi's Mansion movie. I think that would work so much better.
That would be cool.
That would be.
Or I could also see that as a short.
Yeah,
that
that's
could be
true.
fun as a short, too.
Well, like the old Mickey Mouse cartoon where he goes ghost hunting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how would you have Egad talk other than like? I mean,
here's what you do: you just let everyone talk like how Mario and Luigi do in the Mario and Luigi games. Where they all just talk in gibberish.
That's true. Yeah, they're like fake Italian. They should totally do that.
So Luigi would always talk about how he wants a potato.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man, Charles Martinet would get a lot of work with this.
Oh my god!
Making Mario.
Talking to himself constantly.
I am very curious. I have such a hard time imagining the Mario characters talking, but I kind of want to see like when Luigi. I've been playing Thousand Year Door, so Luigi telling his tales about his adventures in the Waffle Kingdom. I want to hear Charles Martinet voice those lines and see if I can get an idea of okay, how would this actually sound if Luigi actually talked?
Actually. You know what I kind of want instead of a Mario movie, I want a Wario and Waluigi movie. Because, personally, I've been on a Mario sports binge recently, and the opening cutscenes for Mario Baseball, Mario Power Tennis, and Mario Golf on the GameCube are all hysterical, and they all star Wario and Waluigi.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, and though
that's true, they are. Yeah,
and like they're fantastic, and I think it's Nintendo probably wouldn't want to do anything to risk damaging their brand too, which is why you don't see Mario do as much entertaining stuff as like Luigi or Wario, for instance. But you could have them do whatever crazy antics you want, and there's no risks to Mario that way. So
that's true.
I couldn't deal with watching an hour and a half of Wario and Waluigi though. No, thank you.
What about a WarioWare spin-off and just all a series of shorts featuring all the WarioWare characters and their
that could be cool.
Antics?
I think I do like Wario in the context of WarioWare, so I would love to see little shorts of like 9-Volt or Mona or Orbulon. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think Ted did touch on something interesting there, and that is like respecting these characters. Like that's probably gonna be the toughest thing here, is just making sure like you transition them into movies while being respectful of what they are and have been. And that's going to be the toughest thing for Nintendo, is just getting that tone just right. And I think it probably is. I know we joked before, that probably is partially why they have Miyamoto like overseeing these projects. But I have to say, like, we've had our phone Miyamoto, or Ad Miyamoto, but I really did like it. I mean, of course, he makes one of the greatest games of all time. He knows these characters, and he's done a pretty good job with the shorts we've seen so far. So I think having him like in a more oversight role for this, I think that makes sense.
It could work, yeah.
Just one of those, like, sort of a gatekeeper. Like, they want to try this, and he's like,
no,
I don't know if that will work.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like most times anyone wants to try anything that is kind of unusual. Miyamoto's like, no, keep it to the basics, keep it to what we know. And so I'm not sure if it would work in that sense, but.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know. His influence is always an interesting factor. It's kind of like the X Factor,
It is, yeah. It is the X Factor. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Star Fox Zero right now, right? Some people love it, other people hate it. So
yeah.
Yep, it is true. Okay, well, I think we should probably move on now. And I know at the start I mentioned we talk mobile, but looking at it here, there's really not that much new. So if you want to hear us talk mobile, check out our previous discussion where we went over pretty much everything we'd go over now anyway. So moving on to something I think is slightly more interesting is the fact that Kimishima talked even more about the NX, while at the same time almost really saying nothing new. But there are a couple of interesting tidbits here, and one of those is the fact that he drove home the point that he had made before, that the NX is neither the successor to the Wii U nor to the 3DS. It's a new way of playing games. And he specifically mentioned that it's something that he himself would be excited to play, if I recall correctly. And then he also went on to mention that part of the reason, or the reason why it's not coming out this Christmas, is that they wanted to make sure that when people finish playing the launch games, they want more things to play in this, they have more things to play in the spring, in the summer, and then later in the year at that Christmas. So yeah, I mean it's really just clarifying what we already knew, but he's really making this out to be like something new. I don't know, it's weird. Like, he's hyping it up, and I'm really hoping they deliver on this, because we've gone so long without concrete info that even with these tidbits, we know nothing about the system itself, but they're hyping it up to be like something big. So
and it's like, and you could, I think in the past we've attributed to just PR spin, and it's just like, okay, well, it's going to be the successor to the Wii U/3DS. That's just PR spin. But he keeps saying it's not a replacement. And what I found especially interesting, it's a small comment, but he said he doesn't imagine the NX will negatively impact 3DS sales due to Pokemon on the way. So the fact that he specifically name drops the 3DS, that why would that even be a thing? What is the NX in relation to the 3DS? I don't think anyone has thought so far, or very few people have thought that the NX would be a full replacement for the 3DS. I think it's more the Wii U comparison is the one that most people are talking about. So this just kind of adds more mystery to the pot. It's like, what is this thing?
I don't really buy the mystery, I guess, because here's the thing. I think that he's just trying to say their hardware in general, because he could say he doesn't imagine the NX would negatively impact the Wii U's sales, but to be honest, nothing could positively impact the Wii U's sales at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think that basically the only thing I think what he's saying is that I don't think people would choose between either getting the 3DS or getting the NX, even if the NX is a home console, because people want their Pokemon, is essentially what's going on here.
Sure.
Personally, it's kind of weird that Nintendo would come out with 2 home consoles before coming out with a new handheld, which is a little bit strange, but the 3DS can keep on going for as far as I care. I love that thing. But honestly, I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to this stuff, and I do try to be optimistic as a general rule, but this isn't a replacement for such and such system always sounds like PR talk, because as soon as it gets enough of a base, they drop the old system every single time. So you know.
I think,
but they can't do that again. I mean, they literally cannot repeat what they did with the Wii U. Like, they have to do something different, and that's why I'm a little interested this time, because yeah, I agree with you, Ted. Usually it is PR spin, but the Wii U model didn't work. It straight up, and they know that, and they can't do that again. So they have to mix it up somehow, or else they're looking at another Wii U potentially. So there has to be some weird element here that's going to make the NX at least somewhat different from what we've come to expect from Nintendo.
Oh, and it might be the fact that, going by his comments, like, it sounds like it's not just, it's not just the successor to the Wii U. It's a success. It might be a successor to more, right? Like, he's saying it's not just a successor to the Wii U or the 3DS. Maybe, we've heard rumors of there being some kind of handheld component. Maybe it really is some kind of, like, on some level, some kind of, like, merging of both their systems to some degree. He's saying, he specifically mentioned the 3DS, which tells me that maybe it's more of a replacement for the Wii U and less so the 3DS, but it's still maybe to some degree. I don't fully understand this because we don't know what's happening here.
It's true. But, I mean, but if they, I will say this: if they continue kind of dancing around the issue for too much longer and keep making it sound like it's this big new thing that nobody's expecting, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot.
I mean, they are, yeah.
Upon the reveal, if it ends up not being something 100% unexpected.
Well, that's kind of the weird thing for me at this point. I feel like we're in a weird area, and I could be totally off base, and I hope I am. But I feel like we're in a weird area right now. Like, I'm like, what else can they do that's really cool when we have virtual reality here that is already super cool and can do all these neat things? I almost feel like virtual reality is like the end point, if you will, and I don't know, it just feels weird. It's like the Wii, in a way, was almost like a baby step toward VR. Like, I don't know, like, what else can they do that's super cool that's not VR?
I kind of see VR as its own tentpole, though.
It is. I mean, I actually do agree with that. I'm just trying to think, like, in terms of being excited, like, what...
Sure.
What...
I don't...
Like, I don't think they can do anything, like, along the lines of what the Wii was.
I don't think that they should use the hardware to get people excited, honestly, because, like, the Wii, obviously, was a huge success, but the more I look at it, the more it seems like kind of a fluke. Like, Wii Sports, and they just happen to have a couple of games to keep the success going, like New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Because, like, the gamepad is cool in concept, but in practice, only a handful of games used it in an interesting way, and even in those cases, like, say, Splatoon, it could have worked just fine with the normal controller. So, personally speaking, what I would want from the NX is, honestly, kind of, in terms of the machine itself, kind of boring, like something with a pretty standard controller and good processing power. And what I would want to be excited for is the launch lineup. That's just me, personally, but hardware is consistently shown to not be the thing that sells systems. It's software. So having some crazy new gimmick, even, like, maybe easy VR support, like you guys were saying, I think could be something that gets people excited, and I'd be fine with that. But other than making some of these things a little bit easier to handle or cheaper or more convenient, I think that they should stick with something a little bit more basic, because obviously trying something wacky with the Wii U did not work out for them.
Yeah, but then it did work out with the Wii, so...
yeah, but the Wii was a... You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice, though, is also the thing. It's...
Well, and it didn't. Well, not in a row, at least.
Well, and the Wii wasn't necessarily a success for the reason that most enthusiast gamers loved it. It wasn't a success because of Super Mario Galaxy. It was a success because of, Wii Sports and New Super Mario Bros. Wii and, the crowd-pleasing games, the Blue Ocean games, as they called them. So... was it Blue Ocean or something else Ocean? I think
no, Endless Ocean.
Blue Ocean.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily. I kind of agree with you, Ted, that they're not going to catch that kind of success twice because it wasn't a success because of the game, of the Nintendo games. Really, it was because of those kind of family-friendly, crowd-pleasing, everyone can play them type games.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, though, based on what we've heard, it's not going to be a standard console a la the Xbox or PS4. Yeah. It's going to be Nintendo, for better or worse. They mentioned having a unique way to play before, and this time specifically, I just found the quote I was kind of touching on before. He says, "It's something very new. The hardware, the software lineup, all of it's something I'd like to play for the first time myself." So it sounds like they're going full Nintendo on this one, and and that could be an amazing thing, or it could be something terrible. But at the very least, it has me excited to know what the hell this is. So
that specific line means nothing to me, because what's he gonna say? Like, oh, it's not something I want to play. Like, of course he's gonna say it's something he wants to play. And
you're right. Again, it's more hype based on nothing concrete that we know of from our perspective.
At this point, I'm past hype and just kind of impatient. Just tell me what the thing is already at this point, because you can only they've been teasing this thing for what, like 2-3 years. Like, come on, just tell us.
It feels like it, but I think it's been only a little over. Has it been like a year and a half now? Maybe 2 years,
something like that.
Well, and to be fair, I think a lot of that is people being interested and impatient for information. But Nintendo, to their credit, came right out and said when they announced the NX, "Look, we're announcing this just to let you guys know that we're not exiting the console market. We're making another console, but we're not going to talk about it for a couple of years." They did that messaging was up front.
True,
from the beginning.
But with all the rumors and everything else, it's hard not to have it constantly in thought. That's why I just disregard anything they say about the NX anymore, even them to themselves.
Yeah.
Because show me the damn thing, and then I'll start caring. At this point, I cannot bring myself to care, no matter what they say. I need concrete details. The thing I do like about all this is how that they want to have constant titles for people to play. When people finish the launch titles, they have something to buy in the spring.
That's
in the
important.
Summer.
Yes.
That's Christmas. That is huge, and that's something Nintendo's always struggled with. And to see them focusing on that, that's what gets me excited more than anything else.
Yeah, so that's very important.
Real quick, so this is actually kind of crazy to me. It was just a little over a year ago, March 17th or 16th, I guess, when they announced the NX. It seems so much longer ago than that, right?
It does seem a lot longer ago.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Wow.
It's been exhausting.
Because they've said so much while saying so little. We get these little tidbits here and there, and of course all the rumors and leaks, supposed leaks, I should say. And we have nothing concrete. So I hope they have the thing. I hope the announcement backs up everything we've heard so far. Because they needed to.
I gotta say, I keep going back to the something to do with streaming. I mean, I don't think it can't just be like a Roku type device. That can't be the NX. But I do feel like some sort of streaming technology is going to be part of this, part of what makes the NX unique. I can't say how or what.
Your library from anywhere with
exactly,
Wi-Fi.
Something like that. So that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be something like that, but it can't just be like a Roku dongle device, because that's not. Yeah, it can't be that.
Who knows? Who really knows at this point? I feel like I think it's not just any one thing. It's probably going to be a few things. Maybe. I don't know what those are. So
it's going to end up being the Nintendo X Station, because Nintendo, they finally, all three of them have come to a consensus, and they're going to release one mega console to rule them all.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I guess, that would. I guess the Xbox and PlayStation all use X in various ways, whether on the controller or in the name, right?
Yeah, so, that's true.
Makes sense. All right, you guys, any final thoughts or ideas before we wrap it up here, or are we done?
I'm pretty much done.
All right.
I'm good.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, well, I think that wraps up for us here, so thanks guys for listening. Ted, do you want to tell people where they can find you at and what all you do?
So I'm a member of Brain Scratch Comms. We do a number of video game commentaries on all sorts of different stuff, but plenty of Nintendo, so you should check us out because we're pretty great.
Pretty modest too. No, I'm joking.
You should definitely check out our recent game of Mario Party 6 from PAX East.
Oh yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
That was fantastic. That was one of the best I think we've done. So.
Oh man, I wish I were there for that. I've been on the Mario Party Resurgence recently, so
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need to play. I've never played 6 really, so I need to.
Yeah, you really do need to play 6.
I hear it's good.
Yeah,
from you guys. All right, and of course, keep an eye on GameXplain for more on Nintendo and other things gaming as well. All right, catch you guys later. Bye.